The night of September 30th to October 1st, 2017, was warm and quiet in Las Vegas. The Strip was lit by neon lights from casinos and billboards, and crowds of tourists strolled, unaware that in just a few hours their city would change forever. Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old man who had lived a quiet life in Mesquite, Nevada, for many years, was preparing for his bloody operation. None of his friends or neighbors could have guessed what he was capable of. Paddock had no criminal record, was not a member of any gang, and was not politically active. He led a quiet, secluded life, and his habits did not arouse suspicion. A few weeks before the tragedy, Paddock rented a luxury suite on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. He carefully thought out every step. He gradually brought dozens of weapons to this room. Semi-automatic rifles, modified AR-15s, rifles and pistols of various calibers. He stored ammunition in suitcases, building an entire arsenal system, which he then disguised as ordinary luggage. His preparation was detailed and meticulous. He studied the site plan of the Route 91 Harvest Festival, the height, the distance to the stage, visibility, shelter points, and possible escape routes. Psychologists and experts later tried to reconstruct his thoughts during these days. In their opinion, Paddock did not act impulsively, but with cold calculation. He carefully selected the weapons, their placement in the room, and the timing of the attack. The degree of preparation surprised even experienced FBI agents, because a person with so many weapons and ammunition usually arouses suspicion. But Paddock managed to hide everything from the eyes of the hotel staff and others. In the days leading up to the shooting, he visited gun shops, consulted with experts in rifle modification, and rented a vehicle to transport the heavy load. Paddock showed typical attention to detail. All the windows in his room were inspected. He checked the stability of the gun mounts, the optimal angle, the placement of chairs and suitcases. In his room, he set up a makeshift observation post that allowed him to see the entire concert venue from hundreds of meters away. Meanwhile, the city was going about its normal life. Thousands of spectators from all over the United States arrived for the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival, which had been held in Las Vegas for several years. Families, couples, and friends gathered in the open area near the hotel. Jason Aldean's music filled the space with energy, laughter, and joy. That evening, no one even suspected that a real threat was looming over them. A psychological profile of Paddock, compiled by experts after the events, points to a combination of social isolation, gambling habits, and possibly hidden mental disorders. He showed an interest in weapons and strategy, was attentive to detail, but avoided direct contact with people. None of the neighbors or relatives noted any signs of aggression or preparation for violence. An important part of the preparation was the timing of the attack. Paddock chose a Sunday evening, when the crowd at the festival would be at its largest, and the night lighting was ideal for his shots from the 32nd floor. He carefully synchronized his watches and checked the direction of the light to minimize the risk of being noticed by hotel staff or the police. A few hours before the tragedy, Paddock was in his room, placing weapons on special racks near the windows, checking magazines, loading rifles, and making a final check. He understood that the moment would be instantaneous, and every second mattered. Psychologists call this an example of cold calculation. The killer acts without emotion, planning each shot in advance. Outside, Las Vegas continued to live the holiday. At the festival, crowds of people took their places, took pictures, laughed, and applauded the musicians. The music mixed with the sounds of footsteps, conversations, and laughter, creating an atmosphere of complete safety. No one suspected that a few dozen meters above them, a man was preparing for one of the most terrible attacks in U.S. history. Around 9:30 p.m., Paddock finished his preparations. All the weapons were in place, magazines were loaded, the shelters were checked. He watched the crowd, choosing the optimal points for shooting. At this moment, he was completely focused, showing neither fear nor excitement. This evening was to be the culmination of his carefully planned action. Las Vegas will never forget October 1st, 2017. At 10:05 p.m. local time, as Jason Aldean was just beginning his set at the Route 91 Harvest Festival, the atmosphere of joy and fun was suddenly torn apart by the sounds of gunshots. They were heard from above, from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. At first, many thought it was fireworks or salutes. After all, the music and lights already created a festive feeling. But the sounds of gunshots became more and more distinct, and gradually the crowd realized. These were real bullets flying in their direction. Stephen Paddock, sitting at his gun mounts, acted coolly and methodically. He fired at the festival spectators, choosing dense areas of the crowd where there were the most people. Each shot was precise, thoughtful. People were falling, screaming, running in different directions, trying to take cover behind fences, in cars, and in any available shelters. The shooting lasted about 10 minutes, but these 10 minutes seemed like an eternity for everyone who found themselves in the line of fire. Witnesses described a horrific picture. People were losing shoes, dropping bags, children were screaming, parents were trying to cover them with their bodies. Some tried to get to the nearest exits, but the crowd, in a panic, created traffic jams. The sounds of music mixed with the screeching of sirens, screams, explosions of pain and fear. This chaos was absolute. No one understood how many shooters there were, where the bullets were coming from, when it would all end. The festival organizers and security tried to understand what was happening. Initially, many thought about panic or a local incident. However, it soon became clear that the shooting was coming from above, and no one could safely evacuate immediately. People hid under tables, crawled under cars, tried to hide behind barriers. Those with medical training rushed to help the wounded, but every step was dangerous. The shots did not stop, and every meter forward could be the last. On the ground, police officers began coordinating their actions. The first calls came in at 22:09, and dozens of patrols were sent to the scene. However, the shooter had an advantage from above. The police and security could not quickly climb to the 32nd floor and neutralize the threat. Video footage from the festival cameras shows chaos. People fell, screamed, some tried to help others, and some simply ran without looking back. Many festival participants noted that, in the first seconds, it was impossible to understand what was happening. The sounds of gunshots were so sharp that the brain did not immediately identify them. Only when one of the guards shouted that it was a firearm from above, the panic reached its peak. People literally started running over each other, falling, losing consciousness from fear and shock. The police began searching the premises located above the site. By 10:45 p.m., they determined that the shooting was coming from the upper floors of Mandalay Bay. SWAT prepared to enter. During these 40 minutes, the shooter continued to fire shots, change weapons, reload magazines, and select new targets in the crowd. Each shot increased the number of wounded and dead. Medical services worked in emergency response mode. Evacuation of the injured was extremely difficult. Some people were trapped in a dense crowd. Many were wounded in the legs, arms, and chest. In some cases, people themselves carried the wounded to safe areas. Las Vegas hospitals were overwhelmed. Additional ambulance crews arrived, and rescuers with heavy equipment made their way through the chaos. Eyewitness accounts highlight the atmosphere of terror. People hid behind stages, car structures, dumpsters, and under tables. Some dropped to the ground and remained motionless, hoping the shooter wouldn't notice them. Every minute felt like an hour, and every gunshot echoed in the minds of everyone in the open. By 11:17 p.m., police entered Paddock's room. He was dead. He likely committed suicide before law enforcement could apprehend him. A huge arsenal of weapons was found in the room, with dozens of magazines and ammunition carefully placed near the windows. All indications were that the shooter had acted alone and had carefully planned his actions. An investigation revealed that Paddock had acted alone. The terrorist group ISIS attempted to claim responsibility for the attack, but the FBI denied these claims. The shooter's motives remain a mystery. He left no letters, notes, or explanations. Psychologists speculate that a combination of loneliness, gambling habits, and underlying mental disorders may have pushed him to commit such a crime. That night changed Las Vegas forever. Tourists and residents alike became more cautious, and authorities revised security measures at public events. Memorials to the victims began to appear throughout the city. Many survivors suffer from post-traumatic stress, and every outdoor concert is now accompanied by increased security. After the tragedy, Las Vegas was plunged into shock. Media from all over the world began to broadcast about the largest shooting in modern U.S. history, and the FBI and local police investigation was launched immediately. In the first hours, investigators recorded all the facts: photos from surveillance cameras, eyewitness recordings, evidence from the crime scene. Particular attention was paid to Paddock's room in Mandalay Bay. It became the key object of the investigation. Experts carefully analyzed the weapons, ammunition, and methods of training the shooter. More than 20 firearms, dozens of magazines, and thousands of rounds of ammunition were found in Paddock's room. Experts noted that Paddock was not a newbie in handling weapons. The rifles were modified for accelerated shooting. Magazines with a large volume of ammunition allowed for prolonged firing without reloading. The investigation also examined Paddock's financial and personal life. He had a stable income but was known as a gambler. Some experts suggested that his failures at the casino and loneliness could have pushed him towards a psychological crisis. But no concrete evidence of direct motivation was ever found. Psychologists noted that many aspects of his behavior indicated social isolation and hidden depression. Terrorist organizations, including ISIS, tried to claim responsibility for the shooting, but the FBI denied these claims. All the data indicated that Paddock acted alone. His actions were carefully planned, which made it difficult to predict and prevent the attack. The public reaction was immediate. Memorials and candlelight vigils were organized in Las Vegas in memory of the victims. People brought flowers, letters, and photographs of the victims. Many survivors shared their stories, telling of panic, how they saved themselves and helped others. Eyewitness videos, photographs from the scene, and personal memories became symbols of this tragedy. Discussions about gun control began at the federal level. Politicians discussed the need to tighten legislation on the sale of rifles and modified magazines, as well as the introduction of additional security measures at mass events. Many experts emphasized that this tragedy revealed the vulnerabilities of security systems and the management of mass events. Psychologists and criminologists studied the psychological profile of Paddock. They assumed that a combination of loneliness, gambling addiction, and hidden mental problems could have led to the tragedy. However, a confirmed motive was never identified. Paddock left no letters, video messages, or other explanations for his actions. This mystery put pressure on the families of the victims, survivors, and society as a whole. Why did a person who did not attract attention decide to commit such destruction? The events of that evening left a mark not only on people, but also on the city. Every concert at an outdoor venue is now accompanied by increased security. The psychological trauma spread throughout Las Vegas and beyond. Many survivors suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and the families of the victims were forced to endure unspeakable pain and loss. The aftermath of the Las Vegas shooting was felt for years. Authorities and organizers began to review security protocols for mass events. Additional video surveillance systems, metal detectors, increased security and medical care were introduced. These measures were aimed at preventing similar tragedies in the future. Memorials in memory of the victims appeared all over Las Vegas. The city remembered each of the 60 victims, and thousands of people participated in remembrance events, holding candles, posters, and flowers. These events brought people together, showing the strength of society in the face of tragedy. Families of the victims received support from government and charities. Psychological help was provided to survivors, and Las Vegas schools and universities launched programs to prevent traumatic stress. The stories of people who miraculously survived became the basis for publications, films, and documentaries. The investigation ended with no clear motive. The FBI confirmed that Paddock acted alone and was carefully prepared. The motives remained unknown. Many experts and researchers have concluded that the tragedy was a combination of personal psychological factors, loneliness, and a carefully planned plan. This tragedy left a deep mark on the history of the United States and the world. It became a reminder of the enormous damage that a single person can do with carefully planned actions, and of the need for attention to mental health, gun control, and first responder training. Videos, photographs, and eyewitness accounts continue to be used for educational purposes. The city of Las Vegas honors the victims while strengthening its security measures and emergency preparedness. The Paddock has gone down in history as a symbol of an unpredictable threat, and the victims and survivors as a reminder of the value of human life. Today, years later, the memory of the events of October 1st, 2017, remains vivid. The stories of individuals, their heroism, solidarity, and desire for life inspire a new generation. Every candle, every word, every monument is part of the lesson that Las Vegas left to the world. The need to be vigilant, support each other, and value life.